Hi Chris, how are you?
Good afternoon, Roger. I'm well. Here we are, the only two people in our country probably not watching the football as England play DR Congo that you didn't know about, and I brought you up to speed.
I would like to point out there are other countries in our country than England, and there are maybe people who don't care in those other countries.
That's fair. I'm not a huge football fan, as we were discussing. I more watch it so I can converse with one of my children. So there you go. Anyway, DR Congo are 1 goal up when this podcast goes out. We may have won, we may have lost. Who knows?
Well, it'll be forever there for posterity. I'd just like to say that, I'm wearing a Valentino Rossi VR46 t-shirt, so that puts my sporting credentials down.
Ah, that's a cool t-shirt. I've even got a Valentino Rossi hat.
He's still got a team in MotoGP, There's VR46 Racing.
Wow, okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go. You're somebody to shout for if you want.
Fair enough. So look, the weather is muggy, I think is what I'm going to go with here.
Muggy implies more heat than I think we've got, but I'm okay with that.
I can't heat. It's hot. It's hot and a bit cloudy, but I'm looking forward to it. But it's episode 231. It's the 1st of July, which is crazy because that means we're over the halfway point of the year. I don't know if we've had the halfway in days, but obviously we're over the halfway in months. I don't know how that works. And then it's still 2026.
It is still 2026, and we've got almost half a year left, so let's not wish it away too quickly. I have a birthday coming up this month, so, I'm never that keen on July, frankly.
You probably were as a child, and then less so as you got older.
I think the point you get past 20, let's say 5, you stop caring so much.
Agreed.
Yeah, let's move on.
One of us hit 44 this year.
Yeah, well, we're not even going to talk how old I am, because you and I know very well how old I am, and that's not fun.
Couldn't comment.
Yeah, you could. Let's do some follow-up then. First off, and we haven't got a lot, and really the drought of stories after WDC and Ramageddon is affecting lots of things, I think.
It's just the year, though, isn't it? The whole year has been a nothing sandwich of nothing, really. Like, nobody's announced anything yet that's like, oh, wow, something techie that's really captured the imagination.
Let's talk about that as we go on. Anyway, first up, we have... this amuses me no end. I know you and I are fans of Anthropic in the sense that of all the big LLM providers, they seem, not that there's much to choose between them, the most ethical, but also the model performs well for us. I think, is that fair to say?
I think it is. I, as you know, have been hammering my subscription to them this month. I am planning to ramp it down at the end of the month, but I think I'm getting a fix from it, so we'll have to see whether I actually manage to do that. No, I do actually quite like Anthropic. I like their aesthetic as well, in the apps and on the website. I think they've got quite a nice aesthetic. And they've got a good reputation, right? So I'm kind of with you on this. Yeah.
Anyway, this is Anthropic getting very upset that Alibaba cloned one of their more recent models. They used 225,000 accounts to mine Claude over 20.8 million exchanges, thereby harvesting all the responses and response data and all that kind of stuff. And I don't care. I think Alibaba should be allowed to do this because, let's face it, all of these providers, fair enough, they may have their own special sauce now, but harvested the web without asking anybody to do it in the first place.
Yeah, it's like hit right back at you. You've done this to others, now they're doing it to you. I'm also comfortable with this in a way because Google's probably been hammered by Alibaba for years of how they're working. But it's quite interesting how they're like trying to reverse engineer it. And surely they're paying if they've got these 25,000 accounts. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, I don't think there's any morally, ethically dubious stuff about this. What all the companies did, Gemini, Grok, Facebook, Anthropic, what all of them did was copy books, download web pages, listen to people's music, look at code on various websites.
Ignore the word copyright.
Ignore the word copyright, and then didn't even ask permission afterwards. And, now they might be paying a little bit of subscriptions to, New York Times or others to make use of that data. And that's just what Alibaba are doing in this case. And a consequence of doing this before was we got DeepSeek, which was an open, in very inverted commas, model that was actually really good that you could run locally. And if you get this kind of thing continuing, then that is actually and I hesitate to use the word public good, but I don't really see the harm that what they're doing is forcing innovation. And I think he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, frankly.
Yeah, I would agree. And look, they've violated their terms of service. Well, surely, Claude, you need to enforce your terms of service on your customers. You wouldn't go run into to the law every time. So I don't really know what their issue is here. It feels like they need to deal with it.
Yeah, and with the American government obviously tried to say no, wagged a finger in the direction and don't do that. But Alibaba, as with most Chinese companies, is state-sponsored in some way. So why would they pay any attention to to Trump getting upset? Trump gets upset about everything every 33 seconds. So it's not really any great shakes that he's upset about this. And of course, the Chinese want to keep up with the Americans when it comes to these things. At least the Chinese are doing something about it, unlike Europe and the UK and other swathes of the world.
I completely agree with you there. So yeah, I'm not getting that excited about this one.
No, and Chinese firms are being, as we're going to talk about when we come to cars, they're going to be treated. They're being treated fairly badly, I think, by American companies for lots of reasons. So I can understand why they would be doing this kind of thing.
Yep, agreed.
Moving on, we have another LastPass story about LastPass leaking people's data and login details and all the rest of it. This is via a part of their supply chain. It's a company called Klue. Had you ever heard of Klue?
Klue?
Klue, sorry.
Yeah. I assume it's pronounced Klue, a third-party market intelligence platform, which to me sounds like a pretty horrible company, if I'm being honest, because it feels like they're just going to cold call me or sell my data. Now they're going to sell all my passwords to go with it, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, this is really bad. I mean, I think this is the third big LastPass incident that we're aware of. I used to be a LastPass subscriber before I moved to 1Password. I know you weren't. You've largely used 1Password and I think Apple Passwords now.
I literally did nothing, then went all in on 1Password and generally quite enjoyed 1Password, but I have moved to Apple Passwords and because my family are using it too.
Yeah, fine. I mean, I moved from 1Password to LastPass. No, the other way around. LastPassword just before they leaked the first time to 1Password, so that was good timing by me. And then I've now moved to Proton Pass because I want something that will work across multiple devices. I like to spin up the odd Linux machine, and Apple Passwords is going to do me no good there whatsoever. So,
yeah, agreed. And I occasionally need a password on my Windows device, but I'm not in your world. But the data's been leaked, though. I was joking about your password's been leaked. It's not your passwords. It's your name, it's your phone number, it's your email address, it's your postal address, and any support case data and sales-related data. So basically, all your personal details are now on the internet again, which is not a good look for a company. It's all about protecting your passwords, and they can't even look after your name.
No, it's really bad, and it's to, like you say, a market intelligence style firm, and that I don't think that's a great look at all for these guys, because it just shows again the depth of sharing of information that goes on between businesses that really have very little business in doing that. And it's yet another leak and yet another data point for somebody on the dark web for your data that's already leaked from some weak link in this chain, possibly LastPass before, for what all this information is. So I just think this stuff is really, really bad and getting worse. We see more and more of them all the time. But LastPass are a big name. Lots of people use LastPass as their corporate provider of passwords, so password protection. So I think it's a real bad look.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's shocking, isn't it? Like, just what are they doing? You'd have thought they'd be in Uber repair reputational mode, but they've gone the complete opposite way because they're trying to sell more data.
I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole.
No, agreed. I wouldn't recommend anybody use them at this point.
No. And if I came across a business working with them, I'd say they should really stop using them as well because they've proven they've got... barge pole's quite funny because basically there's holes in their barge and they're sinking fast.
Wow, okay. Very good, very good.
Thank you. Third story, and the last one for follow-up, unless I've missed something. And this is a story that may be good news for those of us in the UK. Apparently, the result of a class action lawsuit against Apple about them overcharging for iCloud use could result in each and every one of us in the UK getting 77 fine British pounds. I would be amazed if it came to pass.
Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm starting to get too excited. That's like a couple of months iCloud fees at this point. But it's not going to trial till October 28. And I get... it's 3 billion claim is what they're going for with Apple here. But why does it take 2 more years, to even go to trial? Like, how is it taking so long? Like, why is it so slow in this world? And by the time you give me my 77 quid, it's going to be worth even less. And Apple's going to have made even more profit and even more money. So I can't get too excited, sadly. But I guess, yay. Maybe Apple will change its behaviours. Oh, no, wait a minute. I don't think that's going to happen.
That seems incredibly unlikely and very naive of you to suggest, or maybe it was just a bit of irony. I'm not sure which. Yeah, I'm with you. They are the dominant provider on the platform. You really can't use an iPhone, even as the most basic way, without paying for the minimum tier of iCloud, can you?
You need something really, especially really if you want to back it up and stuff. I do wish they'd match it a little bit more to the investment you've made, and maybe you get a few free gigabytes or something, but they do literally nothing.
The irony is, of course, with Ramageddon well and truly upon us, is they probably really can't afford to anymore. They don't want to fill up all those hard drives in their data centers with people's pet photos.
Yeah, it's fair.
But
Chipageddon.
But that's now their problem. For years and years and years, storage got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And now it's not. Yeah. In fact, we're going to talk about sort of the consequences of that to Apple users in the main show. But I just think this shows their sort of swinging approach to this, that you buy any modern iPhone with at least, what are they these days? 256 gig, I think they are.
128, I think, is the,
All right,
is the absolute smallest.
Doesn't matter. They give you 5 gigs of storage, the same as they did when they launched iCloud. And that's not enough. I mean, that's barely any photos or music or video or apps or backing up your device these days. It's not good enough.
Apple, so I was just Googling this. I should have used one of our AI bots, but I didn't. And I didn't use Google, I used DuckDuckGo. But Apple released iCloud with 5 gig of storage on the 12th of October. Do you know the year?
2004.
No, iCloud did not exist in 2004.
No, it was Mac.com or something before that. It was.
But they did the 5 gig of storage in 2011 when they first redid iCloud and we moved away from MobileMe. But in 2011, 5 gig was like, that's a good amount of data. It felt pretty decent. But what we didn't know, and it's kind of the same with them doing the 30% fees at the time. Yeah, that seemed all right. But what we didn't know is they were going to hang on to that for the next 15 years that we've stuck with the 5 gig a day, which is just insane because it just hasn't grown proportionally. Whereas if they'd have chipped away at it, even every year, maybe they give you another gigabyte. Maybe if you're a reoccurring customer, you get another 3 gig or something. I don't know. But at least it would have been something. But now, because they've done literally nothing, there's just this massive gap between where they are and probably where they should be. And it's like with your house, isn't it? If you spend no money on your house for 20 years, there's a massive gap between the quality of your house because you've done nothing. Whereas if you do it little and often, you're keeping on top of it. And I think Apple have fallen into that trap on many fronts.
That's an interesting analogy because if you bought a house and did nothing with it, if it was in a half-decent area, it's still going to increase in value even if you do nothing to it. Whereas your iCloud storage stays there.
But if you do nothing to it, though, you've then got to invest some money if you want to bring it up to today's standards. And they've done nothing to keep today's standards.
I think I agree with you. They should have done more. They're now definitely not going to do no more. I mean, if you remember when was it the Galaxy Edge came out and they gave you like a huge amount of OneDrive storage or something free with it. They gave you, I don't know, 50 gigs or something if you bought that. And I think Microsoft started clawing that back as well. But it used to be a point of differentiation between other providers and Apple that they would give you more cloud storage. I don't even know what Google give you these days. I presume they give you enough to back up your phone.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know.
As usual, showing her amazing knowledge. Anyway, I agree. It's only 2 months of subscription for me at this point, £77. But I'd quite like to see a bit of money back from Apple. It's not something I tend to give them money and never get money back from them.
I'd agree with that.
Fair enough. Should we do some news?
Google Cloud Storage offers free tier of 5 gigabyte of standard storage.
There you go. So Apple have set the standard, and everybody else have just gone, "Yep, we'll just do that then."
Well, if it's good enough for them, we stick to the low bar.
Yeah. News?
Let's do the news.
Right. First in the news, then we have this is a story of Mac Rumors, and I've seen it pop up in a couple of places. I think it was on The Verge as well, about Apple causing or being part of the problem for the current memory crisis. I think this is an interesting take. So this, as I say, is Micron's chief business officer has hinted, without calling out by name, that Apple's tough supplier negotiation contributed to the conditions behind the global memory shortage. In remarks given to the Wall Street Journal, Sumit Sadana explained that Micron was unable to fund capacity expansion during the industry's previously slump when its margins turned negative, partly because some buyers, Apple, pushed relentlessly for lower prices. And given the dominance that Apple has, certainly in the smartphone space, that wouldn't 100% surprise me.
No, we all know they're very aggressive with their tactics of buying chips. It's come out before. It's been in various books. So this is no surprise. But I guess they just couldn't foresee, because Apple was so behind maybe the AI curve, that they just couldn't foresee where the world was going to go. And maybe they, as much as they're complaining now, they've had to raise prices. They've been backed into a corner. But maybe they are a victim of what they've caused because they were just too aggressive.
Yeah, nobody saw the AI world coming, really, except the AI companies, maybe.
Not to this extent, I think. I think we all knew something was happening in that space, but not to the extent that here we are writing apps with it and doing everything on AI now.
And you expressed surprise, I think, that it would last for 5 or 6 years, as they're currently saying at this point. That this is the new normal. This isn't going away. This isn't a temporary speed bump that we're seeing here. And if Apple contributed to this at the beginning by taking a lot of that supply at the beginning, you could kind of see it hit so hard, but it's a bit of a straw dog to me. That I think the problem is that they're trying to build thousands of data centers with multiple servers, with multiple computers, and it's all going there. And just every industry is going to be affected by this. Of course, those that were embedded from the beginning are going to be affected more.
You've also got the thing, though, the RAM companies going, if Apple didn't screw us on costs, we would have reinvested and we wouldn't be in this position. But would you really reinvested, or would you have had nice bonuses? So I think that is a trail of thought here. So maybe I think there's a bit of column A, bit of column B. I think the RAM guys obviously got us in a corner. They're blaming Apple. Apple's blaming them. I would imagine both parties are a little bit guilty.
It's just, as always, Steve Troughton-Smith has an interesting take on this as well. So he posted this earlier last week. Apple starved the silicon supply chain for years. It was widely discussed back when GPU prices started to skyrocket. Famously, Palm blamed Apple for not being able to source components for its WebOS devices. I mean, that's going back a long way, isn't it? That's 2006, something. About that.
7, 8 probably.
Yeah.
Like when the iPhone
was 2007. I remember the Palm Pre being a thing before that. We told HP we needed better displays for the Pre 3. They'd come back and say Apple bought them all. Our suppliers tell us we need to build a factory if we want the displays. That is pushing the market to do new things. Apple didn't leave any capacity. They bought all the RAM. It's not a surprise that they're going to be short. So I think it's a really interesting, sort of take on the industry that they were so slow to enter is actually what's costing them money at this point. I just find it fascinating.
No, agreed. And like you say, Apple, to a degree, have caused their own problems here, and now they're upset because nobody wants to buy their devices because they've now just skyrocketed.
Well, we're upset because we can't afford to buy the devices anymore.
Agreed, and I wish I bought a better one last year now.
There you go. Moving on, the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, who are in charge of broadcasting in the United States. That includes television and things like that, but also the use of cell phones and things with antennas in it. And they are planning a mandate that could block anonymous burner phones. That's quite interesting. You think, how many media shows have you watched over the year where somebody's got a burner phone to hide their anonymity, be it a drug dealer or be it somebody trying to hide from a spouse or something that's turned violent? It's always been a thing, and we have the same thing in the UK where people can walk into any shop, buy a SIM card, stick it in their phone, and off you go. But this is a proposal to block it, and I just thought it was interesting that this has come about at this time.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think there's many reasons why they want to do it, but equally I think there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be doing this. And if you watch things like Mobland, burner phones are all over that TV show. And like you say, they're in, can they do this? How are they going to do this? It feels, are there not other things? Are we going to have to do anything anymore without being monitored? We are ending up in very nanny states, aren't we?
I mean, this was always the slight reservation I had about eSIMs, is that they absolutely know who you are when you put an eSIM in your phone, because they have the record of the phone, where it's come from, and all the rest of it. And I thought that was part of the mandate for pushing eSIMs. It's not really to save space in your phone, because how big is a modern SIM card these days? They don't take up any space at all.
It's more the tray, though, isn't it, I guess, and the opening. And that.
Yeah, but look at the size of a phone, and look at come on. You can't tell me that it takes up that much space.
It's not like phones are getting smaller either, is it?
No, it's not. They're getting bigger again, if anything. But stuff like this is absolutely, to pave the way for it. And if the Americans do it, as we've seen with this sort of mandatory registration for internet and social media amongst children and all the rest of it, the rest of the world will do it fairly quickly as well. Now, once again, you and I have got nothing to hide here. It's not because I'm trying to hide my drug trafficking ring that I'm worried about stuff like this. It's for other people. And, as they say in this article, the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence told the FCC that implementation of these rules would harm victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking, and create more harm for survivors that are trying to flee deadly crisis situations. And it's stuff like that you got to worry about.
Yeah, and as soon as you read that one out, it's like, oh yeah, it's a really good point, isn't it? And are you aware of Egypt? They've got some rule now when you buy a phone within and you have a SIM card in that country, like within 90 days, you may have to pay tax, a percentage of the phone that you've stuck it in. And, obviously it's linked to you and they know all about you and stuff. So they're already doing some of this. I was researching it just today for a colleague going on holiday there because he's like, what have I got to do with my phone when I go to Egypt? And I was like, I've never heard of anything. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay. Like, so if you're there longer than 90 days, you have to pay tax on your device and they know exactly who you are with your SIM card.
Yeah, the government is watching more so than ever.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. Something else that's crazy is Microsoft continuing to be a feature of all of our court systems. And in this case, it's all Microsoft's rivals talking to the Competitions and Markets Authority. I wonder if we should have a bell for Competitions and Markets Authority. We do say it a lot.
The CMA. A bell. A boo. Maybe a boo.
But we need so many good? Because let's face it, sometimes Apple get like us. Anyway, they are looking at with their product bundling, including things like AI products like Copilot, Teams, and other such things, are limiting UK customer choice, asking for submissions for customers and rivals to allow the regulator to weigh Microsoft's arguments. So on the other side of this are companies like Google, where they're saying Microsoft is effectively a gatekeeper for all this stuff. It's kind of hard to argue with this, really.
I'd concur with that. I work for a Microsoft organization. It's very easy to use Teams. And then you end up buying Copilot because it's just there and it's easy and it's contained and it keeps all your data within your enterprise. You don't need a separate piece of software. So I would concur with all of that. They do feel like they're not making it easier for third parties to plug and play.
I think they make it ever more difficult. I mean, it's funny looking at the arguments for Microsoft pushing back against this. For its part, Microsoft stated it faces substantial competitive constraints across all 5 digital activities. In productivity software, it's like the likes of Google Workspace and LibreOffice compete. Other than me, I know almost nobody who uses LibreOffice. Windows faces competition from macOS and Linux. 2% market share for macOS and less for Linux. We're talking about desktops here, not servers. Databases such as Postgres and MySQL, I think by far the biggest gorilla in the room in most corporate workspaces is Microsoft SQL Server.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough if you're some startup. I mean, Facebook use a modified version of Postgres, I think, maybe MySQL. And that's, let's face it, that's a big company, but that's not the argument here. The argument is if you're a small to medium enterprise starting up in the UK, you're probably just going to go with what comes out the box from Microsoft and pay your client access licenses.
Because it's easy, right? It's easy. It's there. Yeah.
I mean, I would push back. Is it? But it's certainly Microsoft will sell you the fact that it's easier.
They will, and it's all in one. And as a person who does procurement for IT services, it's just convenient. I'll just add that onto my bill. Thank you very much. I haven't got to set up another supplier. It's all integrated. I can use the same access rights. So I do get it.
Yeah, I mean, you might need to pay a little bit more for tech as well if you go something else. So the other things may be ultimately easier or better to support or cheaper or whatever, but you got to support it. And most enterprise vendors speak Microsoft. So, I'm kind of, unsurprisingly, I'm with everybody else against Microsoft in this. I don't like to put myself on the same side as Google because Google are just as bad in their own little way about trying to tie you into services and then selling your data on. But there are other companies in here that absolutely do offer a decent choice for Microsoft's products, and macOS being one of them that I think should be more accessible in the corporate space and pushed in that way. But there we go.
Agreed.
Claude 5 is here. Tell us all about it, Chris.
Claude 5 is.
You're super excited. Why was such a big sigh?
I am excited, but I just don't understand. I don't understand the names, the models. Because Claude 5's here, yay, it's got to be the one. And it's 5. 5's better than 4. We're on 4 point something at the moment. So you go and look at it in your Claude app, and you're like, well, I've got 4.3 over there, I've got 4.5 here, 4.8, and now I've got 5. But yet, some models are using 5, and then some are 4.8, some are called Opus, some are called Sonnet. And I just don't understand why it's so complicated. Like, we seem to have taken, it's a bit like picking a new Apple laptop and you pick your chip and there's so many different options. You're like, which one do I want? Do I want more cores? Do I want more GPU cores? Do I want more RAM in it? Oh, look, if I choose more RAM, I've got to have that. So I was looking at it. So you've got 4 different models. You've got the Heiku model, the Sonnet model, the Opus model, and the Fable model. And then in there, you get the different versions, and they're all slightly geared towards doing different things. But I just don't understand why it's so complicated. But anyway, Claude 5 is here. Yay, they're moving forwards. But Fable isn't yet here. This is the one the American government have banned. So they've blocked the 5 Fable model, their best model, and that's still running. And that's not even live yet. They've then got Opus, which is one I've been using to do coding, and that's on 4.8, and that's like for heavy use. Then we've got Sonnet, which has just been upgraded to 5, which is what most people use. It's the one in the middle, basically, and they've made it a little bit cheaper until there's a price increase coming in August, but I guess to get people using it. And then there's Haiku, which is their light model, again on the version 4, and that's there for the quick stuff, uses less tokens. But I was just, as I'm getting into AI, I'm just trying to get my head around some of it because I'm quite new. I'm late to the party and just trying to understand it all. But I just don't understand all the names because I can't remember what half of them are.
I mean, the rule of thumb is the higher model ones cost you more tokens, right?
Yeah, so like the Fable model, which is their biggest one, which we can't really use yet, is their highest one. But is version 4 Fable as good as version 5 Sonnet, which is their medium one? I don't know.
I mean, I'm beginning to get a little idea about this stuff because I'm quite interested in what I can run locally. So things like the Ornith model that just came out, which is a modification of Google's free Gemma model. You can run that locally, and it's a 9 billion parameter model. In the smallest version. So a 9 billion parameter model is about a 6 gigabyte download. It can do local inference and all that kind of stuff. It can have a memory. It can do all the things you'd expect from that. But because you're running it on your local hardware, it's quite slow. So asking it, hi there, hello, will probably take about 35, 40 seconds for it to get a response. So when you use some of these models, particularly the higher quantized ones, the big model you can download from Ornith is 383 billion parameters as opposed to 9 billion. So you can imagine how much more damaging that is on your hardware. These are run on multiple servers across multiple instances in very large data centers that have many, many things you can throw at it. So what you're paying for, is more memory that it can address on that. That's what these bigger models are. And how quantized they are, and I'm saying that wrong. Quantized, I think how quantized they are within that. And then there's, as I understand it, there's 2 different approaches. There's an MOE, and I forget what the other one is. It's sort of a grouping of experts within the models, or they sort of do them one by one. So, and that boils down to when you ask it a question, it uses every single parameter within the model to make sure it's doing it properly, or you ask it a question and it knows which area of expertise to move that to. So if you ask it a coding question, it moves it into that cluster of models that deal with coding, rather than sort of doing a less effective parse through all of the potential parameters available to it. I think I've said that right.
No, it makes sense, but it just blew my mind. Like, why is it so complicated? And we were trying to explain these models to some very senior people in our business who aren't IT techs, and it's quite hard to explain like which model to pick, what you want to ask it, you know what I mean, and how you should work with it. So I don't know. I just thought this world would be a bit more simpler than what it is, if that makes sense. But hey, c'est la vie. Maybe it will settle down at some point. But if anything, it feels like we're going to have more specialist models as they keep maturing.
I think we're going to see it, and particularly when Alibaba finishes cloning Claude, then we're going to have even more to choose from.
Yes, fair. Maybe a few years from now we'll all be on Alibaba. Maybe they'll win the bubble.
Well, I mean, what we really need to see is optimization of these things, so we can run the local ones, some of these better ones locally more efficiently, as we did see with DeepSeek. It came along, and you could actually ask it relatively simple questions and the simple coding problems, and get answers on your thing. I am never going to do some of my medical research stuff on one of these open public models. I'm going to want it locked behind my hardware and not touching the internet.
Good job. Storage is cheap, right?
Yeah, super good. And thankfully, I don't store big stuff like MRIs or anything that takes up lots of data either. So, it's great.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Car Corner?
Go on then. Car Corner, let's do it.
We're fans of Volkswagen, right?
Yeah. I quite like a Volkswagen.
I think Volkswagen Group may be more accurate to say. Between us,
I like German cars. I've got a German car.
But you might like a German car, but Volkswagen Group, which off the top of my head incorporates Volkswagen, Skoda, Audi, Porsche, Seat, and Lamborghini, and Ducati motorcycles, and am I missing something? I think that's it.
I was going to say Bentley, but I'm not really saying it with conviction.
No, I think that you might be right about that. I'm not sure it's Bentley either. However, lots and lots of car brands and manufacturers, they've always done quite well. Dieselgate hit them pretty hard. Chris has his finger up. Who else?
They do own Bentley.
There you go. They own Bentley as well. So well-regarded group, but they're struggling a little bit. 2025 was a bad year for Europe's largest automaker. Its sales essentially flat, but profits were anything but, dropping 44% to just 6.9 billion euros. So there is a threat that they may shut 4 factories, which Volkswagen have never done before. So I look at this story and I go, oh, well, that's a shame, because I quite like Volkswagen. I don't think the cars are quite as good as they used to be. That might just be old man brain saying that the interiors aren't quite as solid. They're a little more creaky. Their interfaces certainly aren't as good as they used to be. All the scandal around the ID models and the terrible touchscreens they put on everything would definitely hurt them.
That Dieselgate, I mean, their reputation, they should be repairing their reputation, but they've gone the other way. Hopefully it will come back.
Hopefully it'll come back. So obviously, if you shut down 4 factories, they're potentially looking at losing 15% of their workforce, and that's unimaginable in Germany. You know, they're quite wedded to the car industry and how well they've done. I mean, Germany and Japan and now China have really bucked the trend in what's happened to global car industries, I think it's fair to say.
100%. They've come along and eaten everybody's lunch, really, haven't they? Like established car brands should be embarrassed of the situation they're in, because how often do you... I assume it's the same in Swansea. You like walk down the road and there's a new brand that's hit the street and people are buying it in droves because of their affordability and all the clever tech it's got.
Yeah, I keep seeing Omodas and JQs and Xpengs and a whole brand of new. And not all of them will last. MG, I think, will stay the course, but not all of these new Chinese brands to the UK. Zeekr is another one that I think we're due at any point now. So I think it's good to have competition in the car market. It does dilute it. So VW and all other car companies are facing that, and they stumbled. They stumbled at the launch of the EV revolution because the ID brand was not well regarded.
I don't get why they did it.
I do get why they did it.
Why didn't you call it Golf E and do a proper Golf E?
Which is what they're doing now. The ID2 will be called a Polo.
Yep, they should have done that.
But I mean, that's not the be-all and end of it. You've got to learn. But it's for such a big, visible company, it's an expensive mistake to make. My problem with this is that they haven't lost any money. They still made a profit. It's not like they were in the red about this. They were still in the black. They weren't making as much money. And that is a cause to shut 4 factories, is it?
They only did 6.9 billion euros of profit.
Yeah, I mean, in Apple terms, that's absolutely nothing. But still, it's not nothing. So I can understand why there might be a bit of pushback against this sort of relentless, you must not just make money, you must make shed loads of money. Particularly when it applies to actually making things as opposed to spinning up servers and selling as the dream of a general intelligence. I mean, obviously, as a manager, you can maybe see the writing on the wall for what's going to happen the year after that because of all these Chinese brands and things that are coming in. I just think it's an interesting move to make while you're still profitable.
Agreed. You'd thought they'd be using those factories to pivot more and to do more with the brand, the well-established brand that's got brand loyalty. And actually, if they lent into their Polo names, their Golf names, their heritage, which you're seeing a lot of cars doing, like the Renault have really lent into bringing back some old marks, like the Renault 5. It looks really good. The Renault 4's back. So I'm amazed not doing something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the EV Buzz, which is their electric interpretation of the microbus, as was, I think was a massive own goal. I mean, not enough range, not good enough battery, same terrible entertainment system. Only came in 5 seats. People want 7-seaters and things like that too. And you look at the Korean brands, who are absolutely still in their lunch when it comes to these kinds of things.
100% agreed.
So even despite their reliability and good reputation, they look a bit like the British car industry did in the 1970s.
Yeah, and look at our industry now.
We ain't got one.
They're going to cut 50,000 jobs. That's just crazy, isn't it? That's a lot of jobs.
And again, they're still profitable.
What you're not seeing here, though, is how much money they're going to spend winding this all up. It's going to be a big hit, but they're going to do some clever accounting and put it over there in that bucket of money so it doesn't impact the big figures.
It's crazy, though, isn't it? Anyway, I feel a bit sad for Volkswagen because I don't know if I might buy another Volkswagen, never say never. Even after Dieselgate, I went on and bought Volkswagen Group cars. Because of the brand, because of the reliability, because of my history with them. So, I mean, it's hard to put you off, as we see with Apple. It's hard to put us off that kind of brand loyalty.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Another brand that's sort of struggling a little bit, certainly in America, is Polestar. So Polestar is in a slightly different position to VW in that it's not really a German or a Swedish, in this case, company. It's actually part Swedish, part Chinese.
Yeah, so in America, they're not going to be able to sell next year because they're using, what does it say, which prohibits software or hardware from China or Russia, so from 27, because these cars are owned by a big Chinese company, they've got Chinese software in it, they won't be able to sell in the States. I'm sorry, I've lost my affinity for Polestar. I quite liked a Polestar too, but since they started removing back windows and making these massive chubby cars, I don't know. I've kind of lost they just don't look that appetizing. I think I preferred it more when they were more Swedish in their appearance, and they've gone slowly away from that.
I mean, Polestars, as you say in this case, because they use Chinese software, they're not allowed on American roads, which blows my mind, considering Polestar make them in the United States as well. So they've brought.
Yeah, I was just about to say that the picture you're sharing's got manufactured in South Carolina. Like, that's great. That's what Trump wanted.
Yeah,
but it's got the wrong software chip in it.
It's American workers that are making these cars, and it's not good enough just because it's running a Chinese software. Polestar, obviously the performance brand of Volvo, if you go far enough back in the day. They made the R series, and then above that was a Polestar. I think it was a trim level, in fact. And then they spun off into electric vehicles, and we saw the Polestar 1, which was very pretty, but not many people bought them.
That was cool.
Yeah. Polestar 2, which was basically the EX40, on a different floor plan. It wasn't a from the ground up designed EV. It still had a transmission tunnel space in the back of it and everything. So not a perfect EV.
But was your company car of choice. Like, a lot of people had that car. And they are super cheap now. On the second-hand market, they're like 15 grand.
Totally. And notably,
I say super cheap in comparison to other cars. I appreciate 15 grand is a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money. And notably, I think the first car to use the Android automotive platform on it.
Yeah, they leaned into that pretty big, didn't they?
Yeah, as my EX30 did as well. I'm okay with Polestar. I agree with you. It's insane to remove a back window. But then I look at these trucks that don't have wing mirrors anymore and only have cameras, and I think that's insane as well.
Yeah, I would concur with that.
Yeah, I don't believe it's a cost saving, to stick extremely expensive cameras on the side of things when wing mirrors have worked reliably for years, as has glass at the back. However, I think Polestar don't make unattractive cars. They've just lent very heavily into the SUV desire that the rest of the planet sees.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Maybe it is that. I'm just not a big SUV fan, I must confess.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, I think it's a bit sad for Polestar, and I hope they at least continue to do well in the UK.
Agreed. I don't wish them any ill good. It was nice they were doing some different, and hopefully they lean back into their Polestar 2 roots.
You've been to London recently, Chris?
Yep.
Have you seen any of the Waymos that are driving around?
Yeah, weirdly, I have seen a couple of Waymos in London, but the person behind the steering wheel was driving it. I thought it was meant to drive itself, so I wasn't sure if it was just data gathering.
I think it's data gathering. They seem to have. Oh no, that will have messed with the recording. Whatever happened there. That's. I think they're trying to just learn the routes. I saw two by Hammersmith Hospital, one after the other, and it looked to me like in one of them, unless they're left-hand drive, that the guy was in the passenger seat, not in the driver's seat.
I'm just trying to recollect. I've searched my mind. Was the guy on the left? I think he is on the left. I think it is left-hand drive.
Right, so they're just using the Californian left-hand drive ones in London.
Yeah, maybe they've just bought a load and they take them off to go map places, perhaps. I guess if it's automated, it doesn't matter where the steering wheel is.
That is true. However, we've had a number of talks about these on the show, including somebody who got flung underneath one and then they had to have it lifted off her, if you remember.
Yeah, not good. And I'll be honest, when you're a pedestrian, you see that thing coming down the road. You're like, what is this crazy futuristic world we're living in? Like all these cameras and bits stuck onto an old Jag. So it's a bit...
Do you think Waymo are keeping Jaguar in business by being the only company that still buys?
Well, Jaguar aren't selling any cars, are they? They shut all the doors.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of these Waymos in California. When I was in San Francisco 3 years ago now, there were hundreds of them around.
It seems an odd choice for an American brand, like the company that was mapping over there. So, yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Anyway, obviously coming soon, and they've got on their own website, coming soon to London. So, yeah, interesting.
Are you going to try it out?
I don't know. They freak me out. It's a robot,
I'm in a similar place to you.
I do have a colleague who went in one when she was in San Francisco, and she said very quickly you get used to it.
I'm sure you do, especially if you're with somebody that's done it 10 times before. You're like, oh, yeah, we just sit here and it just does its thing. And you think no more about it and you'd have to make polite conversation.
Yeah, fair enough. Media?
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
So I have finished at last Widow's Bay. Widow's Bay is an Apple TV show starring, I was about to say Rhys Ifans, but it's not. It's Matthew Rhys. It's a horror comedy. It's really well done. It's really well done. There's a lot of horror tropes in there, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it got a little bit predictable towards the last couple of episodes, but that's not surprising. We all know what's going to happen in a horror film. And this does it really well. So yeah, Widow's Bay, check it out.
It's clearly been your thing. It's clearly grabbed you because you've mentioned it. I think it's probably the third time in a row. So it's obvious, and I get it. Like sometimes when you get a show that you really get into, and you're sad when it ends, I can understand it. I'd probably be the same.
I'm looking forward to season 2. It's not. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, as much as anything else. So, audience liked it, critics liked it. What's not to like? And another quality Apple TV show. Yeah,
Apple are nailing it, and 98% is a fantastic score, and 93% for the viewers. So it's done really well on Rotten Tomatoes.
And talking about me going on about things, this is at least the second time you've mentioned this film on this podcast.
I think Enemy of the State is a really good film. I'm not a huge Will Smith fan, but actually the film, considering it came out in 98, I think I've got that right, it's just quite interesting about all the tracking and monitoring and surveillance. And given that we were just talking about your phones being tracked and stuff and registering, it's just quite, it felt quite timely to rewatch it. It was an easy watch on the train, and it stands up pretty well. And one of us has been writing a video player app, so it was a bit of test material just to test the streaming of it. But I just generally think it's a good film and it's an interesting story. And here we are 28 years later. I think it still stands up all right. Obviously the phone's a bit older, the screens are a bit bigger in this one, but the concept stands up okay.
I mean, I watched it once. It was all right. I didn't. It was, it's not the greatest film I've ever seen by any. It's not one I've ever felt any desire to go back and really watch again.
I just quite liked it. Like I said, I just struck with me. Maybe it hit me when at the right time, and it's one of those things you think of fondly.
Lock, Stock, and unbelievably Two Smoking Barrels.
We should say though, Enemy of the State did have a 78% popcorn rating, which is pretty good.
But that's what I said. It's all right. As a one-time film, it's not a classic. You're not going to rush back and watch it again. Yeah, fine. Okay. Yeah, fine. Yeah. I'm not knocking it. I didn't not enjoy it, just not enough to think, that's a great film, I'm going to go watch that again.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And you're probably going to say the same about my next bit, which was Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. I also watched that again, tested my video up. This film is actually quite a small one, so it's quite good when you're testing syncing files and copying, and it all works. But this got 93% on the popcorn ratings. And do you know what? Actually, I think this stands up right, and there's barely any tech in it, and it kind of helps because it doesn't age so badly. But it was filmed obviously on a budget, and the equipment used to film it was obviously a bit cheap in places, so some of it does look quite dated. And it's got Rob Brydon in it for like 5 minutes before he really hit the big time. So no, I enjoyed it, and it was good.
I don't think I could remember what happens in this film. Has this got somebody called Bricktop in it or something like that?
No, that's Snatch. That was the follow-up. This is all about a game of cards where some guys put in $100,000 and then they end up owing the guy running it $500,000, and they've got to pay him back in like a week.
So this is what made Jason Statham famous.
This was it. Apparently he was like a market seller, and that's how he starts off in the film. And then he did this film, and then his career went crazy.
And Guy Ritchie, obviously, who then went on to marry Madonna.
Yeah, and run pubs and own estates and make barbecues and do everything.
Does he? Who knew?
Have you ever seen The Gentleman?
No.
So in The Gentleman, there's a bit in the story about where they've got a barbecue that keeps your legs warm but you don't get any smoke, and it's like a table. And apparently that's like his thing that he's invented some of it or something.
Oh my God.
He does make nice beer though. If you're ever in Fitzrovia in London, there's a nice pub and you can go and have a Grinchy pint, and it is lovely.
I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of his style. I think it was interesting when he first came out, but he didn't continue to develop the art like somebody like Edgar Wright. And that sort of cheeky, chappy, cockney, violent thing is what he did. And I know he's done other films as well. Like I know he did the Sherlock Holmes films with Robert Downey Jr. I know he did the League of Ungentlemanly Warfare or whatever it's called as well. And I don't think... I mean, the first Sherlock Holmes film was all right, but not that many of them hit that well. I think Snatch was of its time. I think this was of its time. You obviously enjoyed it this time around, but again, you're talking about it here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not that fussed about going to see that again, frankly.
Yeah, fair enough. Again, possibly at the right time. He did do. There's another film with Jason Statham in it, and Wrath of Man, which I quite enjoyed, and I did enjoy The Gentleman. But actually, I would concur with you. There's quite a lot of his films I'm not that bothered about seeing again.
Yeah, I mean, workmanlike. I think that's how I'd give it. Of their time, workmanlike. Not again. I'm not having a go at your film taste here at all. But I just think like it's they're of the time. Enemy of the State of the time. And good in the moment. Not classics.
Yeah, but that was 90s. I was at college. That was, I don't know, hit me at the right time.
Lord of the Rings, man. Speaking of classics, Toy Story is back and back and back and back again.
So I only put this in there. I've not seen Toy Story.
At all, ever.
I've seen 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously. I'm a big Pixar fan, but I've not seen Toy Story 5. And I just wondered, A, have you seen it? B, have you got any interest? And C, have you checked out the scores this is getting?
Well, I can see the 93 and 95%. I haven't seen Toy Story 4. My kids went to see Toy Story 4 in the cinema and said it was so dreadful I should never go anywhere near it. It will tarnish my memory of Toy Story 3, which I thought was a good film.
I wouldn't call it dreadful. I don't think it was, like, don't get me wrong, the animation and the rain and the effects are insane. It wasn't my favourite story, I must confess. But I'm curious to see Toy Story 5.
I'll wait for it to come to streaming. I have seen one review of it, and the critic said it was, as a parent of young children, it was quite good, that move to tablets and trying to keep children's attention on things like that. And that's quite a timely story. And maybe it's not. It's about 5 years too late, frankly. But
agreed.
But I think that it's an interesting direction for them to take. But I thoroughly enjoyed the first 3 Toy Story films. Toy Story and Toy Story 2 are absolute classics. And I think Toy Story 3 was a dip, but it was still a really good film. But this has every chance of being good.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious to see it, I think. And I used to like it when like the kids were young and they were like, yeah, let's go watch a new Pixar film. But now it's quite hard to get them to go to the cinema. So I do like the cinema, though, and I'm keen to go.
So Andrew Stanton is director of this again, who made one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
Which film was that?
John Carter of Mars.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh, God, save yourself. Run away screaming. If it ever comes on TV, it is genuinely, I think it's the third worst film I've ever seen. Speed Racer is worse than it, but only just.
Yeah, I'm just seeing what else he's directed. So he did do Finding Nemo.
Yep, that's what I mean. He was a terrific director. Am I right?
He did WALL-E.
Yeah,
then he did John Carter.
These are all good. That John Carter is an aberration. I mean, it's just awful.
And then he did Finding Dory, which wasn't great. It's just far too long. And then obviously he's done Toy Story 5. He did do In the Blink of an Eye, but I don't know what that is.
There's a couple of bad ones on here. I mean, I'm scrolling back. Toy Story, great. Bugs Life, great. Toy Story 2, great. These are all solid gold hits. Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Brave. Brave is probably less well regarded, but I quite enjoy Brave. John Carter, absolute drivel, shouldn't have been allowed. Monsters University, not a great film. Not a great film. Good Dinosaur, not a great film. Finding Dory, it goes downhill fast. I've never even heard of Piper. It's got 100%. Oh, right, okay. Toy Story 4, good reviews considering what my children said.
I quite like Lightyear.
Yeah, we've gone down a rabbit hole, Chris. Should we move on to games?
Let's do it.
So you were bemoaning a couple of weeks ago that the Steam machine was not with us. Well, did you put your name down for the lottery? Because it's with us now.
I did not put my name down for the lottery. It is with us. It's just too much money for where I'm at in life right now. I'd probably want like a terabyte version or 2 terabyte version. So it's out. It's what, 800 quid, I think, if you buy the base model, 512 terabyte hard drive in it. Is it 16 gig of RAM?
Yep. 16 gig of RAM, 512, doesn't come with a controller, 856 quid, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just not quite ready for it, I think. But I have bought other stuff, so I was just trying to be a good citizen.
879 quid without a controller. So I did put my name down for the lottery because I read the fine print and thought it doesn't guarantee that you've got to buy it. And I got an email from them fairly quickly afterwards to say I hadn't won the lottery and I'd just have to wait for another batch. Now, I'm leaving my name there because I wonder if it's one of these things I may buy in punts, which I've never done in my life before. But I got to think there'll be such demand for these devices, if you look at the Steam Deck now, that it could actually be quite a nice little investment.
Yeah, regretting selling my Steam Deck.
That was probably a mistake. I suspect mine's probably worth 100 quid more than it was.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But I was trying to be good and move things on, and because I just wasn't using it. I do think they look cool. I do fancy one, but I'm not in a rush at the moment, so I'm going to wait.
No, I understand, but it's funny. So I have had 3 consoles set up under my TV. 2 consoles set. 3 consoles? 2 consoles. I had 2 consoles. I had a PlayStation 5 and a Switch 2 under my TV. And I've got the Apple TV. I'm thinking of my HDMI sockets. And I like the console-ness of both of those things. You flick them over to one thing. The PlayStation, especially, just fires up. It realizes it's got an HDMI connection. You pick up a controller, you start playing. It's great.
Yep.
And that is the dream of this Steam machine, is that you have a PC that you have access to the Steam store where you've potentially already got a load of games, or you can buy them super cheap. Steam sale's on now at the moment, by the way. And not be... I was looking at the price of GTA 6, which has been announced. You seen the price of GTA?
It's 80 quid.
80 quid. Now, it will be 80 quid on Steam as well, but like 3 weeks later, there'll be an offer on it. It'll be down to 50 or 40 or 30 or something, you know. And that is the joy of PC hardware. So what you want is a PC like this that starts in Steam Big Picture mode, the same as your Steam Deck does, that lives under your TV. And I see the appeal of that very much. And it's a PC. You can take Steam off it and you treat it as a normal PC. So I think there's a lot to like about this. And the reviews have been, it's good but not great. You know, it does what it says on the tin, but what it doesn't do is 4K stream, you know, the ability to play games at 4K at high resolution. It'll play 1080p or the one above that, 1440p, but not give you the full-on 4K experience that you might get from a PlayStation 5. And it's 300 quid more than a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I get that. But you can change the components. You can go and use it as an actual PC if you want to and put a keyboard and a mouse on it. I still think it's interesting, and I know a lot of people interested in it. It's just bad timing with the way the world's gone with RAM and storage.
I 100% agree. So, I mean, I put my name down for. I'm quite interested. What it has inspired me to do, though, is dig out an old PC, stick Bazite on it, and actually attach to the TV. So my Switch 2 is now disconnected from my TV, and I've got a PC plugged in.
I'm not surprised that you've disconnected your Switch 2.
There's no games for it. It's really boring. It's really dull. I mean, the odd game of Mario Kart with the kids.
Yep. And I occasionally fire mine up. I'll play a bit of Quake on it or a bit of Grand Theft Auto. But these are games I had on my Switch 1. So one thing that I do like with the Switch 2, fast. It's so much quicker. So what are you playing?
Well, let's talk about... I'm going to give you an example right now.
Okay.
So because I had to test it, because as with all things PC, again, this is the joy really of having something pre-built by Valve who's going to sell you a piece of hardware that they know what's in it, how it works, that everything works. When you cobble together a PC, you've only got whatever hardware you have. So it's probably about a 5-year-old PC with an NVIDIA 3000 series graphics card in there. So it's okay. However, there's a bug in Linux and NVIDIA drivers at the moment that you can't install the version of Bazite that will let you just boot into big picture mode. So I had to do some jiggery pokery. But once I got it up and running, and it's not bad, I got to say, it's not bad. I was quite impressed with it. So the first thing, other than Slay the Spire 2, because why else do you need any other games other than Slay the Spire 2, which I can now play on my TV, I installed...
For a man who likes one game, you own a lot of hardware to play that one game.
Well, but, you know, I want it on big picture, and I can sit on my couch and play it now. So obviously I'm playing Slay the Spire 2. But I also banged 2016's Doom on there.
Okay.
Which... I'd only ever played with a keyboard before, obviously, because I bought it when it came out. And I looked at, I think it's £3.50 in the Steam sale at the moment, 2016 Doom.
Wow, okay.
And it still looks terrific. I mean, there's a little video playing here at the moment, which I'm going to stop because it's quite gory. But it's very true to the spirit of the original Doom. What you do have are less beasties on the screen than you did in sort of the very original Doom when it came out. But it's got that sort of very kinetic feel to it, where there's things going on. You've got... I call it a brutality, fatality. When you shoot a character enough, they start flashing. You can execute a special move and you get a bit of health or ammo out of them or something like that. The levels look good. I'm getting, my TV can only display 60 frames per second, but my rubbish old PC is telling me it can do 150 frames per second, you know, in the little readout thing in the top left corner. So I'm getting really good performance on this thing with the controller as well. So I've been playing a bit of Doom, Chris.
You're turning to me where you're playing retro games. I like it. I did enjoy going back and playing Quake, which should probably run really well on this.
Yeah, probably would.
Remastered version.
I think I've probably got it as well. But the thing is, I can play anything that runs with a controller. So we'll talk about it next. The other thing I tried to play on it as well. But I've put on lots of games that work well with controllers. So Slay the Spire 2 is an obvious one. But No Man's Sky, which I bought years ago for PC, I actually fired up. And that looks terrific as well and looks beautiful with the extra graphical oomph that a computer can throw at it. Even the PlayStation, I think, struggled with a little bit. So lots of things like that I've just chucked on there. So I've got a terabyte SSD in the thing, so I've just filled it up with games. I've put XCOM on there. I've put a bunch of things on there, and I've got access to them all on my TV. It's great.
No, fair play to you. Fair play. I do get the appeal. I don't think I could trash either of our TVs with a big computer, which wouldn't land well with the family right now.
I mean, the most annoying thing is the noise, because they're big honking PCs, got big spinny fans in it all over the place. So I'm not leaving it on all the time. You know, I do switch it off. It's only when I want a gaming session I turn it on. But that sort of back on a couch away from the computer, when you're actually using it with a controller in big picture mode, it feels just like a PlayStation. It feels like a big Steam Deck. It just works. Yeah,
no, that is. I can see the appeal. I really can.
Yeah. So I also tried, and this is our next news story, Civilization 7, which got a big update. I want to see what it would be like with a controller, because again, Civ is a game I've generally only played with a keyboard and a mouse, and it works on there, but there's too much small text.
Yeah, and that's been my complaint sometimes when you get a game on the Switch where it's been ported. It's like, oh right, this hasn't been built for this, has it? So I do get that. What's it like playing with a controller? I don't think I've ever played Civ with a controller.
It works fine. It works fine. You can manipulate the world. You can get your guys to auto-explore, which is a feature now in Civ 7. My very quick experience of this patch, and because I've been playing Doom and Slay the Spire, I haven't spent enough time on this, is that they fixed a lot of the complaints I had with Civ 7. Like I say, they can auto-explore. You can start with some better leaders now. You're not immediately expected to change governments. It just all feels a bit more continuous. And this patch, which only came out on June 23rd, they've actually added hot seat gameplay back in, which is I take a turn and somebody else who's on the couch with me could potentially take a turn as well. And I think that's just a really nice feature to have on something like this, where, you know, it could be really tedious to connect to somebody else. Like if you and I wanted a game of Civ, we probably don't have the 52 hours to hand to sit and play a game of multiplayer. That's whoever you want a couple of hours on the couch with someone, you can pass a controller back and forth. That's what we wanted video games for, isn't it? To do that kind of stuff. So when one of the kids are around one night, I might have a go.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. I'm on board.
So there we go. That's what I've been doing with myself. Main show?
Go on then. Let's do the show.
So main show. And it's probably going to be quite short, frankly. But the big news from Apple this week, has been the price increase.
Yeah, it does feel like this has been going on at various companies, but now Apple have done it. It's like everybody's starting to listen and pay a bit more attention.
Yeah, so this is the featured articles from the BBC, but we could have picked almost anything. Sorry, I can just see in the top right here, England's still losing to the Democratic Republic of Congo. You must be upset, Chris.
I'm not too upset, but they are just going back on for the second half.
So this is the story from the BBC. In this case, Apple is increasing the price of MacBooks, iPads worldwide due to rising memory and storage costs. So the iPhone maker has hiked, although not iPhones yet, the iPhone maker has hiked the prices of some laptops and tablets by almost 20%, saying the electronics industry is facing an unprecedented challenge due to an extraordinary surge in demand to power AI data centers.
Yeah. We knew this was coming, but I don't think any of us thought that the Apple TV, for example, is going to go up by $70 when it was only $129. Do you know what I mean? That's like an extreme example. But you're talking about a 4-year-old device that they've basically just priced it so expensive that nobody's going to buy one. I mean, nobody was buying it anyway, really.
Yeah, let's go through this. So HomePod Mini from $129, from $99 to $129. Too much. Nobody should buy one of those anyway. They sound like crap.
That's like a 30% uplift.
Yeah. HomePod, $299 from $299 to $349. Apple TV from $129 to $199.
And if you buy the bigger one, it's $250, like the one with the Ethernet on it.
Ethernet, and don't forget the Thread radio.
I still don't know what that does for me.
And that's a 5-year-old product, right?
4 or 5.
4 or 5-year-old product.
Early 22.
That is ridiculous. How much is Google TV they just released? I think it's 99 quid.
The Apple TV was already too expensive, and now they should just stop selling it, because we know they've got a new one that was ready to go.
Well, and just my normal whinge about being a Brit, BBC iPlayer will not run in ultra high definition on an Apple TV yet.
Does it still not do it?
Still does not do it. They only gave us subtitles 18 months ago.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So why would you, genuinely, if we didn't have them, why would we buy them at that price point?
Yeah, true. This next one, though, that you're about to get to is crazy.
iPad, $349 to $449. The iPad Mini, $499 to $599, up $100. iPad Air, $599 to $749, up $150. And this is the kicker. iPad Pro from $999 to $1,199. That is mental.
That device was already too much money.
Well, why would anybody buy anything other than the bog standard iPad? The MacBook Neo, which we're going to get to in a minute, has also gone up $100. All right, I know you've got one, Chris, but you bought it before the prices went up, right? Genuinely,
Thankfully.
If you bought a stuffed one, how much more expensive is it now?
I don't even want to look, but I've got like a terabyte in it. I've got cellular on it. It's going to be expensive. It's crazy, isn't it? The prices seem crazy. Do you know what, though? Now makes the keyboard seem less expensive because that hasn't gone up.
That's not a good thing. I mean, the MacBook Neo, which was cheap-ish, is a little more expensive now. But it makes that iPad Air Pro Mini look absolutely swinging. Why would anybody buy an iPad Mini, Air, or Pro at that price?
Especially when you look at the Mini and it's a couple of years old now.
And you look at the capability of it as well. You've got a real computer with a MacBook Neo.
Yeah, no, I get it. I do get it. It comes with the keyboard as well.
Yeah, it's got and a screen, and it stands up by itself if you lean it against something, and it's quite small. I actually had to play with one in the Apple Store in London last week. So, other than the trackpad feeling a bit cheap, that's a solid computer.
I concur, and it now actually seems quite a good price because the Air's gone up by 200 quid.
Yep. Air up by 200 quid. MacBook Pro 300 quid. Again, these are for the base configurations.
Yeah, as soon as you start adding, that number skyrockets.
iMac, 2-year-old iMac, don't forget, up 200 quid. Mac Mini, up 200 from 139 to 1599. My Mac Mini, I got a feel which is a Pro, I'm feeling like I bought a clever computer.
I'm sat in the same camp as you here. I'm thinking I'm going to be sweating that asset for a little bit while longer.
Yeah. Mac Studio, the M4 Max version, up $500 from $2,000 to $2,500. Mac Studio M3, we're on M5s now, just want to point out, $3,999 up to $5,299, up $1,300. That is madness.
That is the Ultra chip, though. So that is the big bad boy chip, which you can't get in an M4 or in an M5.
Exactly. So they're not going to be in any great rush to do that. The only thing and throwing out there, nobody buys them anyway. The Vision Pro went up $200. Who cares?
The Vision Pro, what did it not need to get more expensive?
Yeah, it was super cheap anyway. The cheap computer may have just left us, Chris. I think it may be a thing where you used to have, be able to buy a cheap living room PC or use something for streaming or buy something for your kid to learn on. It may no longer actually be a thing you can buy anymore at less than 500 quid or $500.
Yeah, it does feel like we've had it good, but we didn't realise how good we had it until it's over, and it is now over. They have brought back the Mac Mini, though, with the 256 storage, which used to be $599, but it's now $799. So everything's gone up a huge amount. So I don't know about you, but I am hoping that my M4 devices, because I've got the M4 Air and the M4 Mini, I'm hoping that they're sitting all right and that they do me for a few more years, because I am in no rush to buy anything right now.
I mean, part of me wonders if the reason to do this is they're about to release a new HomePod Mini and new iPads that are actually more capable that will justify these price increases. But again, Apple has all the money in the world. They could afford to eat this for a while, but profit and loss and profitability is what they're all about. They want to prove to Wall Street that they're still able to maintain those profit margins, and that's why they've done that, really. And they claim they've insulated us from it. I'm not convinced they have. If we combine this with the story we had before, this is just where they were always going to be.
Yeah, it feels like they've made the bed. They're now lying in it. I find it really curious. No iPhone increase. Now, are they going to increase the cost of iPhones before the new ones come out to soften the blow? Or are they going to announce the newer iPhones in September? Well, we expect September. And they're just going to be at new prices, which will be more than what they were last year.
I think all the prices will go up in September. I mean, that's a prediction.
But will they not put up the current ones now to soften the September messaging? Or maybe they don't know what they're going to cost in September, so they're waiting a little bit until we get through July.
I mean, this volatility, as we said before, isn't going away. They're predicting another 5 years of this. I think this is the beginning of price rises. And in fact, we've got an Engadget article later that says, that this is just the beginning. There may be more price hikes coming later. So I think get your gear, kids, and hope that it's not going to break anytime soon.
Yeah, like I say, I agree with you. And in some ways, I wish I spent a bit more on gear last year, but I thought I was spending too much as it was. But you just don't know sometimes, because you expect things to get cheaper, not more expensive. This has got to be the first time in a long, long time that we've actually bought something that's gone up in value whilst we've owned it, like a piece of tech.
Yeah, totally. And then just to sort of finish the story off is that this is the Engadget article. The last one was 95 Mac. That we're going to have to make do. You know, we're going to have to mend some of these things. I'm feeling pretty good about my framework laptop at the moment, I got to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, I'm feeling all right because I got relatively new gear, but give it a year, maybe two, and I'll be like, I want to buy some new stuff. And what's the cost going to be then? Because salaries are not going up in lockstep with things around us.
No, they're not. But again, I just think who's going to suffer for this are the hobbyists, the people who run home labs, and kids who are now going to be deprived of their first computers. You're not going to be bought an iPad when these kinds of prices, are they? It's not your average Christmas present anymore. I'll just go for a slightly better one for little Jimmy. That's not a thing that's going to happen.
No, agreed. It is sad, especially as like you say, tech enthusiasts. My son's quite into tech, so I'm trying to get him into it more. And like when I upgrade my hard drives, I give him the old one so he can do something with them. But I'm having to slow my hard drive purchasing down because they're £300 a pop. It's a lot of money.
It is. It's bad times, and thankfully I'm in no rush to buy anything at the moment. But I also am aware I've got a NAS full of 18 terabyte hard drives spinning away. That when one of them goes, that's going to cost me a fortune.
Yeah, I've only got 8 terabyte hard drives, and they're £300 each.
Yeah, so I may have to come down in size a little bit, but that's really difficult to do. So it's really going to be quite painful on us moving forward. And it's not like cloud storage prices continually get cheaper either, is it? Because they're going to be affected by all this too. It's going to be a hurtful time.
Yeah, I agreed with you. I really do agree with you on this one. And like you say, we don't know where it's going to end. And it seems quite a hockey stick at the moment. But is that going to plateau, or are we going to? Do we not know how lucky we are that it hasn't?
Well, I mean, the flip side of this, of course, is if and when the bubble bursts, the AI bubble, because not all these companies can continue at this rate. We can't demand it at this rate. I think. Then there's going to be a bunch of data centers selling off their components really cheap. But that's not going to matter because all of our pensions and everything are tied up in the S&P 250. That's where all your big investment funds go. So there's going to be a massive global recession. So you won't be able to afford it then either.
Oh, my Lord. Should we get some tinfoil hats and dig a bunker?
No, I don't think that's going to help us, frankly, because you won't be able to afford to buy the food or to keep the fans running because they probably rely on some chip from some company somewhere. So on that bombshell, shall we do Thing of the Week? App of the Week?
Yeah, we should, but I think I'm with you on here. I think we're all thinking, how can we make our gear last a little bit longer? Which is not something we've really thought about before, so I do agree.
Yeah, operate with care. App of the Week, I just talked about it. Bazite. Bazite is a operating system, and it's a Fedora-based spin of a Linux operating system where it's optimized for your hardware. If I click the little download thing, you can see it asks you what hardware you're using. Do you want a desktop, a home theater PC, or have you got the framework desktop, or they support framework or laptops, or whatever specific thing it is you've got within here. And the build you download is sort of specific to that. So if you know you've got NVIDIA hardware or ATI hardware or an Intel chip, you download that and you get the perfect build for it, with the exception that the NVIDIA stuff's a little bit broken at the moment. But I was just really impressed with this. It has given me that big picture thing. It's very like a Steam Deck. It's got that same sort of experience where you can pop into the desktop if you want to install a couple of things or mess around with it or use it as a server. I found it really interesting that some of the install scripts that it comes with include things like download BBC iPlayer, download the Jellyfin client, download Netflix and all the rest of it, so you can actually make it work within Steam Big Picture mode right there and then, so you don't actually need to leave that. I'm quite impressed with this. I think it's a good thing, and it's a nice atomic desktop, so it uses the same sort of build process as Apple do, where you have a frozen kernel, you take it offline to update it, and you're always able to revert to the kernel before if things break, so it should be super stable as well. So I've been really impressed with Bazite, and it's a really nice purple theme as well.
I think it's cool. I love the logo, the B with the controller in it. I think that's really cool. Yeah, it does look good, and the fact that you've got that drop down just to pick what you've got and it just tailors it for you, that's genius, because that's probably what would put me off, is having to faff. And I know you've been lucky with the NVIDIA, but if you didn't have to faff with it, I'd be a bit more inclined to play with it.
Well, if you've got ATI cards, you've got nothing, you don't even need to hesitate. You can blast it on your system.
No, I think I've got an old NVIDIA Quadro.
That's a business card.
Yeah, I do have a business card in my gaming computer for some unknown reason.
As you do. The other thing, just I've forgotten I was going to mention this, is that it comes with Waydroid as well. So if you want to run the Android version of some of these streaming apps, so for example, if I don't know, Amazon Prime or something is optimized for an Android, you can actually install it on that, and you can have that experience on here as well. You can just download it from the Play Store. So the chances are you can find an app to run on this machine that will run inside of Steam Big Picture mode as if it was native, which I think is really cool.
Could you do Android games on that?
Yeah, you could do Android games on that.
Oh, that's kind of cool, isn't it? It sounds quite universal for gaming and playing around.
Well, exactly, and they've got things like Lutris, which is if you run old DOS games or Mac games or things like that, an emulator built onto it to actually give you an optimized experience on a 4K screen. So I'm really impressed with Bazzite. They've really thought it through.
So you mentioned Bazzite before, and obviously playing Steam, and I know we're going long, but I'm going to ask one question. I like to play. I've got Warcraft 2 like remastered, and StarCraft remastered. That's on Battle.net. Does Battle.net work on this?
I think Battle.net works on this. Yeah, I'll do a bit of research after the show.
Because that'd be the only thing holding me back from trashing my Windows install. If I'm being honest, because I don't need the Windows install for anything, but I do want to play Steam and Battle.net games.
So Steam is out of the box, as obviously.
Yep, I'm cool with that.
I think Battle.net does work on Linux these days. Yeah.
Okay. If I only had a spare hard drive, but hard drives are at a premium because I'd be tempted to spin up a second hard drive, try it out, get it all set up, and if everything worked, I could migrate over.
Who uses hard drives? You need an SSD.
I meant SSD, but forgive the slip of the tongue.
Thing of the week.
Thing of the week. Mine's a bit technical, and I'm not going to say I understand it, but I've gone with an SMB framework, which is what we use for networking. It's called Samba. You save all your files, and I know you know this, but it's blown my mind where I've been doing coding. I've been prompting Claude to do some coding for me, and I wanted to make a music app that goes off to a server and syncs my music. And so I've got master library, and it just pulls down the new songs off it. And this free framework is called AMSMB2, and I basically just pointed it in my app, told Claude I got it because it told me to go get it, and then it just hooked up networking and all worked, and it seems really fast. But it just blew my mind that some very clever people, cleverer than probably you and I, have gone away and written these frameworks to do it. They've posted on GitHub. We can go and consume it, and with the help of Claude, you can actually wrap it into your app, and you've spent no money on doing it. And these people maintain it and contribute to it. And I thought it's just really good. So there you go. Like I say, a bit technical, a bit off the wall, but there is some amazing stuff out there maintained by people for nothing. Fair play to them.
I think it's good that it's there, obviously, for what it is you're trying to achieve with your particular app. I think when we talked about this before, I was saying what you really need to just build is some sort of syncing agent that lives in the middle. But even if you built a syncing agent, you're going to have to connect to a network in some place to sort of pull it back over. So yeah, fair play. I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad you've been able to make use of it and that Claude suggested it for you. So yeah, there you go.
This is all your fault. You made me buy Ubiquiti. I then bought Ubiquiti NAS. I've then put my music on it, and then I needed an app that could just grab the music off the NAS. And so all of this is slowly coming together. So I'm blaming you for the rabbit hole I'm currently living in.
Well, I'm not going to take that blame because you, at the beginning of this podcast, kept going, I just need to keep doing a few more things to get more technical again. And that's what you've done. So I think it's all your ambition, and you've got there yourself, Chris. I may have given you the odd prod along the way, but it's all you, mate.
Yeah, okay, fair. And I'm enjoying it. I generally have really enjoyed making this music app, which I'm hoping by the end of the day I'm going to send to you and you can see what it looks like. But it's been a real challenge. But this is a cool feature I didn't even think I would be able to do, but a little bit of prompting has got me over the line.
This is interesting. It actually has a Claude.md repository within it.
It's all super, like Claude literally just goes, you just need to use this. And if you click these buttons I can't click, I can then do the rest. So it's very clever. And it solved my syncing problem really quickly. It's cool. Pretty pleased with my efforts.
There we go. I think we can call that a show, Chris.
I think so. So sorry we've gone long, but if anyone wants to get in contact, Rod is at g5maniac@mastodon.scot. I am at _cgp at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to wakefromsleep.com and click on the YouTube link, or you drop us an email, wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.